The Plymouth game was on RLB, say the fans. Why the F has he put our most defensive side of the season against rock-bottom Plymouth, who've lost 5-0 to Burnley midweek? Sam Ed should also be nowhere near the team, and the Faye is completely wasted. On the wing, we had some very strong views coming out this week. Thank you very much for joining us. This is 20 minutes of Sunderland chat. We're talking about the three things we learned from that Plymouth game. Is Paterson a liability, or is that far too harsh? We're saying goodbye to Naz and looking at the transfer window, which closes this week. And we're choosing our worst ever defensive lineup for the Black Cats. Joining us this week, we've got Charlie back and, of course, Jamie. Thank you very much for joining us. If you've only just discovering this channel, it's been going 25 weeks or so now. Drop us a quick subscribe. There's so many bigger and larger Sunderland podcasts out there, but this is 20 minutes of passionate chat. Let's jump straight into it, Charlie. I tell you what, Sunderland bust a ton of coupons on Saturday, sending everyone's accumulators right down the Swanee. So, yeah, not very happy with you at all. But what happened?
I don't know. They were really, really off. You could tell from minute one that we were a better team, but I could also just tell that something wasn't quite right. They were just way off the pace. They were playing really slow as well, and it just nothing was clicking. I know Plymouth just sat in a low block, but that's fine. I've got no problem with teams doing that. It's got them a point in the end of the day. Like, we need to break those teams down, and they were just really poor. I thought it was probably the worst performance of the season for me.
Yeah, I mean, they're taking 4 points off you now, Jamie, which is ridiculous given the ends of the table you sit at. Where do you set this? People blaming the manager for the setup. Do you agree with it that you got this one wrong?
I do agree. To be honest, I think his team selection at the start of the game was surprising to, I would probably say, most fans on the way to the match. He dropped Mayenda and started Samid, who was his first start of the season, but he's literally a CDM who doesn't cross the halfway line, and we didn't need that against them. Like Charlie says, we were going to have a low block. We needed pace. We needed attacking ideas, and to drop Mayenda and keep Rig out of the team and keep Lafay on the left-hand side, it just wasn't right from the start, and you could see that. And I think the whole stadium sensed that it wasn't going to be as easy as we maybe expected.
Yeah, let's have a look at some tweets which also confirm that, though. Ahmed says, we needed to react today. The performance against struggling Derby was unconvincing, but we got away with it and scraped to win. Today we did it all again, and we didn't. Do the players want it enough? Tony says, his fault entirely today, as Jamie says. It was a wrong game for Samed. No high press, no urgency. We went defensive to protect the lead. It didn't work. We've seen this management style creep in before. Charlie, it's bizarre, isn't it? You're at home, 2-1 up against Plymouth with, 10, 11 minutes to go, and you go defensive. That's on the manager as well, isn't it?
Yeah, that is. There's not been many times at all this season that I've really disagreed with him, and I haven't had that much of a problem with the sitting back, because sometimes I do think that's kind of carried over from last season, the bit of negativity with the players, and like they just kind of instinctively go like, oh, hang on, we're winning, let's maybe be a little bit more cautious. But yesterday was really obvious. Like, they brought on Ballard already, and then Leo Hjelde was coming on for Isidore with 10 minutes to go left. I was like, I'm not really sure about that, because they were causing the problems already, which I suppose is why he did it. But like, it's just not worth that risk. And then the second they scored, there was like 6 minutes at a time or whatever, but we had no one on the pitch who would go and get a winner anyways. So that was poor. And then Labrie will know that, though. I think he said in the interview after the game that they probably didn't deserve to win it anyways. So at least he came out and said that and admitted that the team weren't good enough. But just need to make sure that doesn't happen again, really. It's just a learning curve for him. At the end of the day, it's still a new league for him, I guess, and we've still got a young squad.
We say it's a learning curve, Charlie, thanks for that. But, I mean, Jamie, do you remember the Coventry game?
At
home, this is that we said exactly the same, I'm sure, on here. After that, he's got to learn from it. When you're 2 goals up, just go kill the game off, and here we are again.
Yeah, it's happened on quite a few occasions this season. I think off the top of my head, we've lost so many points after kind of 80, 85 minutes, where we've adopted this idea of just sitting deep and inviting teams on. And I think yesterday, the second goal, we had 10 players in our box defending that, and we still somehow managed to make a mess of it. And blame Paterson, blame 09. There's just no kind of organisation. It was like too many defenders on there. They're getting each other's way, and it was an absolute shambles. The more you watch it, the more you can't believe how they conceded a goal from that situation. But it was coming. The stadium kind of expected it, I think, to a level, regardless if it was Plymouth or Burnley we were playing. It was like, we know what's coming here, and it came.
So the three things we've learned: number one is you don't need to play a defensive midfielder when you're playing a team like Plymouth. Number two, don't sit back. For our third one, we've got to think about the defensive aspects of it. Charlie, I don't like putting these kind of messages up, but there were quite a few. Patter's worse than Steele in camp. I'm not sure he is, but what's your view on what's going on with Paterson at the moment?
I still think he's more than good enough at this level. And as a shot stopper, he's particularly good. I mean, he made one really good save at 1-1, I remember. But it's his commanding of his box. Like, he used to be hopeless at it from corners as well when he first broke in, but he's got better at that. But for the second goal especially, I mean, 09's heading the ball out under no pressure on the 6-yard line. Like, that's got to be Paterson's ball. I don't know if there was just no communication or whatever, but you've got to claim that. I mean, obviously then there's all manner of other problems with the goal, but if he just came out and claimed it, instantly that's calmed down. And yeah, and there was another one as well right afterwards, about a minute or so later, where the entirety of the stand behind him had had to literally just scream at him to go and just claim this ball because there was no one anywhere near anyone, and he just wouldn't do it. It was really bizarre.
Cheers, man, Charlie. If we throw in the defence, then Jamie, I mean, we'll get to 09 in a second. But Metham, as well, had an off day, which is unlike him.
I think you can start to slowly see why he isn't part of the Bournemouth squad. There's a reason why he's been sent out on loan from a Premier League club, and he is playing Championship football. He started really well. I'd personally have Ballard in there with him, alongside him. Not just because of yesterday. I just think over the past 5 or 6 weeks, Luke's struggled for consistency. People say he passes the ball better, but you can give that your midfielder. They can pass the ball better for you. You're there to defend, and at the minute he's got errors in him. And I think you've got to get Ballard in there with Metham as soon as you can.
Yeah, and Luke 09 was the other one which people were talking about. Matt says the defensive subs late in the game are killing us. Drop Roberts, play Mayenda. Job was non-existent. 09 was poor. Metham off an off day. So many things wrong. But the tactics and the subs fall on the manager's head. That was an awful performance today. But I think we'll allow it. Won't we, Charlie? No one's going to go off the head at this. But with the Derby performance added to it as well, which wasn't convincing either, are we just a little bit worried about this? Maybe the gap growing?
Yeah, I'll wait and see what happens tomorrow night in the Burnley game. If Leeds win, I think I'd probably just say, yeah, I think they're probably all right. Anything other than that, I'm still all right with it all. Yesterday was just off. I think just on, but there's a Samed thing as well, by the way. I think the only reason he's played that game is they've put him in for the Middlesbrough Leeds games coming up, like just because they assume they're going to win it, which is stupid. And then that's just set them up kind of the whole game to be kind of behind because they're always off the pace maybe. Because with that tweet there, they're right about Mayenda getting dropped was ridiculous, I think. And Roberts is off it as well. Again, I said a few weeks ago how he can't kick the ball anymore. That's happened again. Sergen as well, I think was way off it. Like you were saying there, Jamie, about having Ballard back in at centre back. I'd bring him in and put 09 at left back at the minute. Like what they've been doing sometimes, because I think Sergen's just been way off the pace since he came back from his injury. There's just so many of them who are just kind of a little bit off it at the minute. And because they've been getting away with it by just getting wins, it's not been as obvious. But after yesterday, it's entirely obvious.
Cheers for that, Charlie. Let us know what you think in the comments below. It is Middlesbrough next, of course, Monday night on ITV as well, isn't it? Which should be good for the whole nation to tuck in and watch on a cold January night. Middlesbrough and Sunderland. Transfer window is closing this week. It's, of course, the biggest thing we're looking forward to, or not in some cases. News this week, Jamie, that Naz has gone to Hajduk Split. The various tweets on this one. Ollie says, "Can we now go and get Akpom, please?" Jay says, "Thanks for that Borough goal, Naz." Of course, it was way at Borough, wasn't he? Scored that. Patrick says, "What a honking signing that turned out to be." What's your thoughts?
He didn't do great for us. I don't think he kind of suited our style. I think he was always going to be heading out, if not this window, the summer definitely. He didn't really impact games when he came on. Didn't look dangerous. Not really a presence higher up the pitch. And I think a bit like Connolly, he just isn't the right fit for what we need. The pace, the kind of the power and the intensity that we try and attack with. He's got that European style to his game where he likes to kind of be a little bit slower, and it just wasn't a match. And a bit of waste of a signing, really, waste of money when we I think we paid some 2 to 3 million for him, which for us is a big outlay. And it's I know it's only a loan deal, but hopefully they confirm it permanent in the summer. But we'll see how he does. I'm not overly confident he'll do very well.
Okay. That happened before this list was produced, and Charlie. A bit quiet. I think we were expecting it to be, given what happened in the summer. Do you expect anything to be happening at all between now and when it closes?
I'd be disappointed if there wasn't. I still think they need at least one attacker in, especially with Rusyn. Not that he'd be playing much, but he's a body if nothing else. They've been linked with quite a few attackers. I mean, over the whole window. I think I'd still probably argue they could use another defender in, just as another body. So I think I'd want at least 1 or 2 in. Like, I've got to say,
Okay.
Not really too fussed about outgoing. There's not many that I'd want to see leave per se. So,
Jamie, Everton are reportedly interested in Dan Neil. How much would you want for him?
He splits a lot of opinion on Wearside, to be honest, Dan Neil, but I think based on the figures of other championship sales over recent seasons, you got to be looking for the 15 to 20 million mark. I think his contract's up next summer, 26. So he hasn't got long left. I think if we don't go up this season, he probably will leave. I think is he a Premier League player yet? I don't think so. He certainly wasn't yesterday. It's a certain fact, but that's our model. If we don't go up, we'll lose players, and I think we all realise that, and that's the concern this season. If we don't go up, this team could be dismantled very quickly.
Okay. You don't either of you see Job going anywhere this week, then?
No, I don't see.
When he gets thrown out, I think if the bid's big enough and the money comes in, and whatever his contract might have, there's rumours that his contract's got certain clauses in if money's met, but I don't think so. I don't think this window again the summer. I probably imagine he will if we don't go up, but not January.
Okay. All right, let us know what you think. We'll review all of that, of course, next week as well. Finally, if you've missed us for the last couple of weeks, we've been putting together the worst ever Sunderland side of the last 20 years. Here's where it stands at the moment. We have got in goal. Well, first of all, we added Danny Graham and Milton Nunes to our strikers last week, and of course, as we've already mentioned already, Lee Camp was stuck in goal. This week we're asking for the worst ever defenders that our team have seen in the famous red and white stripes. Can you give us 2 each? That'll do, won't it? It doesn't have to be a left back and right back, but if you can, that'll be helpful. Jamie, can you kick this off for us?
I'll start with one he was just a lot of money. Came in from I think he had a previous spell at Chelsea. Papi Djilabodji, he came in and he was diabolical. Left-footed centre-back, weak as can be, no interest, didn't really want to be there from the start. You could see it from day one. Terrible attitude, everything you don't want in a player. So I think he'll be hard to. I think he'll be probably captain of the side. To be fair, I think he was.
Okay, come back to you for another one in a minute, Charlie. We got another centre back for us.
I've got a right back, and I'll go with Donald Love.
He was my next one.
Yeah. I always, for some reason, I always used to like him. I think that's probably just because he tried, but he really wasn't very good. And I wasn't that surprised when I saw him playing for Accrington Stanley the other week in the FA Cup. Yeah, it was mainly just the fact that we bought him in the Premier League, and then he played in the Premier League and was just god awful. Bless him. But yeah.
Okay. Brill. Jamie, any more?
You know what? I'm not far off saying Leo Hilde because I think he's terrible. He can't keep the ball in play. He looks soft. He's fragile. But I think he gets pipped by Callum McFadzean at left back. Who again was just absolutely diabolical. There was some of our darker days where he was like a deadline day signing. It was like, oh, we've signed McFadzean. It was just a realization of where we were to where we are. I suppose you got to accept. We've come a long way in recent times, but he was absolutely abysmal.
Great. Charlie?
I'm torn between a couple from the early League One era centre-backs. It's either Glenn Loovens or Ozturk. I quite liked Ozturk. Dunn's done well since, to be fair to him. I just specifically remember he literally couldn't turn around, despite the fact he was about 20. But Loovens he actually couldn't move. I mean, he was very old when he came here. I can't remember how old he was now, but I think he played about five or six games, then got injured for ages, and then never really played again. Yeah. But he was one of the first signings when we dropped down, so I'll go with him. Okay. He was reasonably highly rated as well, I think.
It was,
yeah.
This is turning into a god-awful team, isn't it? Looking at this. League camp with some of them players in front of them. My God. Right. Cheers for that, both of you. Thanks for your comments as well. Thank you, of course, so much for joining us. Next week, we are putting together the final bit of this team, which is, of course, the midfield, and we're putting our January Player of the Month nominations forward. And, of course, looking ahead to Middlesbrough. Join us all for that. Thank you, Charlie. Thank you, Jamie. Have a great week, everyone. Drop us a subscribe if you haven't yet done so. See you in 7 days.